So it's Remembrance Day or Veterans Day today, November the 11th, and I'm always struck, and my grandpa fought in World War II, and he ended up not getting a heck of a lot of an education, but he fought for us, and I'm deeply appreciative of this. But I'm always interested in how we fought for something that was so incredibly important for us. And that was often a huge part of the whole theme of what we fought for, or what my grandparents fought for, was the fact that we can believe in this dream where we can move up. And one of the things that was the most important, or the thing that we know almost definitively at this moment, is that education in of itself, getting more education, is almost a direct link to moving up in virtually all aspects of this world. And I always think it's interesting. So I was the first in my family to go to Ada University, and then I became a business professor. And I know it seems really strange to do that, but I calculated the odds of actually doing that. And the odds of doing that was 1 in 67,000 of actually going away. And I think the odds are actually really quite worse than that, because it was based on American data, and I'm Canadian, and I grew up in the far north. So the odds of doing that is extraordinarily low. But I always think about, why is it so difficult when we know that there's a direct link between getting an education and moving up in all aspects? And I think there's a lot more to it, in the sense that many of us sort of forget that people fought for us so that we can do this. And I think it's even interesting, because I think my grandpa would have been really afraid to go and get an education himself. Just based on who he was and how he handled himself. And it's just really fascinating with me that we're more likely to go in a war and do something that is extraordinarily dangerous than to read a few books, when we know that there is a pretty strong link between, it's almost at this moment, I think, of year, to look at most of the research in this area, it's almost like a law that there is such a strong link. It's not direct, and people do screw it up, and they choose the wrong sort of course of action, the wrong things. But there's almost always this link between getting an education and all sorts of opportunities and all sorts of just at least understanding of the world. And I think of myself of, why is that? Why is it so scary all the time? And I think it's because coming up with new ideas and thinking about the world in a different way almost always feels threatening to us. But it doesn't have to be, if you have a light heart. So I was also thinking about these individuals that are older, that go away and do maybe lifelong learning, or they're a mature student, they're going back to university. And I think about, why is it so uncommon that very few people do this? It's really interesting to me that at the age of 65, lots of people retire from work, and instead of going and getting more education, which they very well could, and just think about the world in a different way, most, if not all, people don't do that. And I'm not saying that, there has to be a practical purpose with getting an education, in the sense that if you go get this education, you're going to get a better job and all that kind of stuff. It's just that you think about the world differently. It's just reading a few books. It's just going through some motions of often a sense of self-discovery, where you think about the world just differently. And what is it that causes this threat? What is it that makes it feel so alarming to us? I don't know at this moment. I can't really put my finger on it, other than the fact that to go through this, you have to think about the way that you're viewing the world in a different way, which often ends up with very negative experiences, in the sense that maybe you have to reconcile that the way that you thought about the world might not be the way that other people think about the world. And you have to reconcile that in your head, or that doing some of this stuff is extraordinarily cognitively demanding, which it is. It uses your mind, and it's very demanding. It's often more time consuming and mentally energy consuming than a lot of things. But I think about this opportunity that is given to us, that there was these people that gave their lives to do this, and we don't take advantage of it. We don't look at the world and we say that this is a playground. And I think, at least if I can convince you to realize that the playground nature of the world, that if you don't take yourself so seriously, if you just get up and you start playing with things, exploring, and you just kind of have a sense of, oh well, let's just see what happens. Sometimes you do things that were an absolute gift, that were such a gift that we should have taken advantage of it all along. And I encourage you to do that. Think about these moments, and it doesn't have to be education, but think about all the things that are given to you that are just a sheer gift. And you only have a limited amount of time on this earth. And people fought for us because they had strange ideas about how the world should operate. And by the way, strange ideas of freedom and liberty, those are very strange. And they're only in modern history where we actually have them. So I want you to think about that. What are the things that you can do that give you a sense of playfulness, a sense of opportunity, a sense of joy in this world, given that we have such a remarkable opportunity at this moment to live life to the fullest. All right, take care and have a wonderful day. Take a look at that beautiful sunrise. Now we gotta figure out how to turn this off with my big old winter mitts.